Australia has over 4,000 confirmed coronavirus cases, but the daily rate of increase has started to slow down. The federal government has been adamant in resisting a total lockdown. The Prime Minister has announced even tougher restrictions and protocols to stop the coronavirus spread. Meanwhile, the resources sector is continuing to work through, during this time of crisis, implementing new health and hygiene standards to prevent an outbreak. For more, Minister for Resources, Water and Northern Australia, Keith Pitt, joins me now. Keith, I know it's a tough call, but what do we do about the ABC running their sort of, socialist agendas all the time, and of course this, big lockdown policy that they've sort of embraced?
Oh, Gleeso, firstly, it's great to be with you, great to be with your viewers. And look, I think fundamentally what the Prime Minister has been saying is that this is an enormous health challenge. It's an enormous challenge for the economy. And I've always been a great supporter of the ABC and the regions. They are out there. They always provide us with emergency support during natural disasters. But I continue to get more and more complaints to my office and to my emails and inbox about their behaviour. But once again, the government is taking the best advice available from the Chief Medical Officer. The National Cabinet is a stroke of genius by the Prime Minister, in my view. It is working incredibly well. We are all working in the national interest, and I think there will always be commentators that are willing to go out and run a commentary, Gleeso. But the reality here is this is very, very serious. This virus is downright medieval.
Yeah, I think the Prime Minister has handled it, as you say, very, very well, Keith. I think he's, as you say, the National Cabinet is fantastic. What's the sort of medium to long term sort of aspiration here with the country and the economy getting through this?
We want to ensure we keep as many people as possible connected to their employment, connected to the businesses they're employed by, and ensure those businesses are able to come through this and out the other side and get back to work. The announcement today is the most significant and substantial announcement by any government in history, in my view. It is a $130 billion investment in the Australian people. It is necessary. We're doing what we must, and we are ensuring that each and every Australian has an opportunity to get through this, come out the other side, and go back to work.
All right, now, a lot of controversy attached to this story. The story's coming at us in all different directions, but one of the ones I think a lot of people were unimpressed with over the past 24 hours, we had a group of doctors who sort of came in from South America, and there's obviously some confusion when they arrived, but essentially they've dispersed without having to do the 2-week isolation period. Now, of course, these are doctors and they're responsible people, and they save people's lives, but somewhere along the line, and I just hope this is not a Ruby Princess sort of repeat, but somewhere along the line, the communication has been let down. What's your thoughts on this?
Look, as the Prime Minister has said, this shouldn't have happened. Hindsight's always 20/20, but we've put in place policies and procedures both at a state and federal level to ensure that all international passengers are now going to quarantine for 14 days in hotel rooms right around the country. Now, that is a very tough call. These are people who've been away for a period of time. They want to see their family. They want to get back with their friends and have a chat to them, obviously in isolation and groups of no more than 2 now, Gleeso. But we must ensure that we do what is in the national interest. We are making tough decisions right across the country, whether that is at a state level or a federal level, and everyone needs to abide by the law, regardless of what your role is in the community.
Keith, Sunwater and Ergon, despite what's happening, are still flagging big increases in power and water prices, particularly in your area, actually, up around Bundaberg. We're seeing irrigators hit with big increases flagged over the next 2 to 3 years. Is there any way you can get in their ear and suggest that maybe they should put a moratorium on these sorts of increases?
Well, as you know, they're both state-owned entities in Queensland. I know Angus Taylor's been doing a power of work with our department to try and ensure that we do stop any increases, that we make sure people aren't disconnected at a time when they're desperate to keep the power on. We know our growers are producing the food that Australia needs. We've all just got to work together here, Peter. That's the bottom line. And state-owned entities, I think, really need to rethink seriously any increases they might have proposed. And I think local councils have a part to play here as well. Whatever's affordable for them in terms of their balance sheet and their cash flow. Some of our councils are in a much stronger position than others, and I think they need to look seriously at what they can do for business and residents.
Now, as Resources Minister, I know you've been keeping a very close eye on what's happening in the gas sector. We've seen the moratorium lifted for onshore gas exploration in Victoria, which I think was well overdue. How important is that for the good folk of regional Victoria when it comes to their power bills going forward?
Oh, well, I think it's not just their power bills, it's the fact that manufacturing will become competitive again if there is cheap and affordable gas in Victoria. So I congratulate Jacqueline Symes. I would have liked it to have happened earlier. I would like it to include unconventional gas, but it's a step in the right direction. And at the moment, we need all the positives we can find. The resources sector, in my view, Gleeso, is doing an absolutely fantastic job. They've implemented very, very quickly a wide range of control measures around the coronavirus to ensure the safety of their workers and the ongoing capacity of their individual businesses, whether that's mines or gas or otherwise. And it's important that we continue to export those products. Now, domestically, we want to keep the gas on because that runs power stations and domestic gas supplies. We need to keep our coal supplies up to run coal-fired power stations, but we're also supplying the world. And I think it's critical we continue to supply that fuel into other countries for which we have contracts.
Keith, what sort of measures have the mines put in place to ensure that this insidious, as you call it, medieval disease doesn't rifle through our mines, which would just be catastrophic for the national economy?
Well, the resources sector is very strong in terms of occupational health and safety. They've had a lot of contingency planning in place previously. And let's speak frankly, I mean, a mine camp does get outbreak of sickness every now and again. This is how they manage it, by separating people and changing their hygiene habits and how they provide food on site. There are a range of things that they've put in place, including temperature checks and surveys of individuals. They're looking at changing their rosters to meet any criteria set by the states. And I've got to thank my state counterparts. As a ministerial team, we are working well together to ensure that the resources sector continues to operate, continues to employ Australians and continues to do what is necessary and in the national interest. So I think the states, over a period of time, there'll be a patchwork quilt, I guess, on their individual approaches, but every single one of us recognises how important the sector is. It does help keep the lights on in Australia, literally, in terms of the supply for gas and coal into power stations and other locations. And I congratulate the industry on what they're doing. I mean, BHP's just put out a call for another 1,500 workers.
Well, Keith Pitt, Energy and Resources Minister, great to have you on Sky News across Australia as always. Thanks for your time tonight.